Hey guys, Aaron Cybertron Zhang here, and today I'm back with another episode of Road to Ranked where I climb the Online Series 12 ladder and provide live commentary as I go. Today we're trying out a really fun team that recently finished 4th in the February International Challenge, which was the Wi-Fi Online Best of 1 tournament, and this team has a lot of fun tricks up its sleeve. It was built by a Japanese player called Ace Wild, so thank you to them for the team. You can check them out linked in the description below on Twitter, as well as a rental and a paste if you want to try out the teams yourself. As always, I'll do a quick breakdown of the team, but if you want to just skip to the battles, check out the timestamps in the description below, and thanks so much as always for watching. If you enjoyed, please show your support by leaving a like, I'd really appreciate it. So, this team has a lot of fun tricks up its sleeve. The first thing is that it's got a interesting restricted duo in Kyurem-W and Zacian, and as you see, a lot of these Pokemon have some unexpected sets. So, first of all, you have to remember that this team was, primarily built for a best of 1 tournament, and so it's really, really good in best of 1, and it relies not heavily on like a lot of these surprise moves, but it gets a lot of value out of them, and that value may drop off a little bit if your opponent knows like kind of what's coming your way, right? But to start off, you've got Kyurem-W and you've got Blizzard, Earth Power, Hyper Beam, and Protect with Life Orb. Hyper Beam is really nice for a means of speed control, and very frequently with this team, you'll end up like going up against Zacian, and you'll have like Kyurem plus Indeedee out next to each other. Indeedee can go for Follow Me, you can max Strike as Zacian protects, and then just KO them after your Dynamax is over, or just outspeed them and like go for a Max Quake, for example. And so Max Strike is really nice. We've seen Hyper Beam pop up more recently on a couple of restricted mons, and it continues to be the case here. You've got a bulky Zacian here with Quick Attack instead of Play Rough, so Quick Attack really just to finish things off. We've already used that before. Magnet Regieleki, pretty standard, but it does have Screech. The whole point of Screech is that you can combo it with Zacian and just go Screech into Behemoth Blade to pick up a KO onto Dynamax Pokemon, right? So there are very few Pokemon that can take a Screech combo very nicely. The one thing to watch out for is that Screech's accuracy, unfortunately, is not 100%, so you have to be careful about it. But when you're able to connect with it, the results can be absolutely devastating. To round out the team, you've got Assault Vest Hydreigon. Hydreigon's a Pokemon that we haven't really used too much, but it is a decent tech in Series 12 because, first of all, there are obviously just a lot of special attackers across the board, and second of all, AV Hydreigon is very nice into specifically Calyrex Shadow Rider, which otherwise would give this team some trouble thanks to the fact that there aren't any other Ghost immunities or resistances, as well as Psychic, really, other than Indeedee. And so Hydreigon here makes Calyrex Shadow Rider's like life basically an absolute nightmare because it can't really do very much into it at all. The interesting thing about this Hydreigon is there's also not running like a Dragon type attack or a Fire type attack. Instead, you've got Hyper Voice, Earth Power, and Flash Cannon. Part of the reason for this is because Hydreigon's actually a pretty good Dynamax option, and it's especially interesting when you combine it with Ferrothorn, or Zacian, really. The idea is that you use these max moves to boost your partner's defenses and special defenses, right? And so, like, you can go Hydreigon, Ferrothorn, and you're not going to do maybe that much damage in the early game, but you can ramp up Ferrothorn between Iron Defense and Max Steel Spike or Max Quake and get to a position where it's very difficult to knock out. So, Hydreigon's one of the options you can do that with, but of course, Kyurem is also another possibility, but you don't have Steel Spike, just Max Quake. And finally, I have to talk about this Indeedee set. This is what really drew me to the team. It's not Psychic Terrain Indeedee, it's Synchronize, and because of that, you actually have Fake Out. Fake Out Indeedee is something that very few people like generally have on their radar, and I know if I were to go up against an Indeedee, I'd just be like, I would never think about Fake Out, right? Because Indeedee almost always carries Psychic Terrain, or, Psychic Surge, which allows it to set up Psychic Terrain. So you have a very surprising turn 1 Fake Out, and Indeedee is faster than a lot of the Fake Out users that are common, like Rillaboom or Incineroar or Grimmsnarl. Now, Rillaboom, it kind of depends on how it's trained, obviously, but the thing is, yeah, very few people expect Fake Out from Indeedee, so you can catch your opponents off guard, and that's so nice with Kyurem, because Indeedee Kyurem can just Fake Out into a max move and just pick up a knockout onto something. The goal with Dynamax Kyurem really is to just pick up as many KOs as possible and like basically snowball the game to a point where you win ideally after your couple of turns at Dynamax. So yeah, I think this team just has a lot of fun tricks where it's like every Pokemon has something that your opponent generally won't anticipate, and there are just a lot of interesting sets here. So thanks so much as always for watching, and question of the day, I want to know if you could give a Pokemon just any move, what would that Pokemon be and what would that move be for the question of the day? So let me know in the comment section below, and let's get started. Alright, getting into things here, and it's Dialga Calyrex Ice Rider for the first one. Interesting. My immediate impression is that Ferrothorn can be solid here. Their team is so intriguing because, like, you have Tailwind with Whimsicott and Trick Room with Mimikyu, Calyrex, and Dialga potentially. Now, I don't think all 3 of them are going to be running Trick Room, but at least one of the 3 for sure. Whimsicott could even carry Trick Room as well. So, how do I want to approach this? My first impression, this might be a little bit unorthodox, but is to actually boost Ferrothorn up via Max Quake and Max Steel Spike potentially, or Iron Defense. So for example, I could lead with Kyurem plus Ferrothorn, which is intriguing to me. Now, Indeedee here is interesting because it has Fake Out and it's very valuable for redirection. But they've got their own Indeedee. So then the question is, do I think they're going to lead their own Indeedee? I'm not sure about that. I kind of like the idea of making Ferrothorn very difficult to knock out in this game. So Kyurem, Ferrothorn lead with Zacian in the back. And then for the last one, I don't love Regieleki. Hydreigon's really weak in a Calyrex. But I feel like Indeedee is too passive here if I'm not leading it. So yeah, we'll see. I think there are a lot of interesting things you can do with this team. One is the surprise Fake Out from Indeedee and the lack of Psychic Terrain. And this is just a weird one because I don't know whether to go like with, you know, a fast mode or a slow mode because they have both Tailwind and Trick Room on their team, which makes team preview a lot harder for me personally. They're going to go with Dialga and Mimikyu. Huh. Well, yeah, leading Indeedee here would not have helped out very much. The thing about Mimikyu is I have to worry about Will-O-Wisp and Taunt, and neither of those are great to run into. Got Zacian and Hydreigon in the back. Turn 1, I am tempted by Iron Defense, Dynamax, and just Quake into Dialga, honestly. Like, maybe we don't KO Dialga. I mean, we shouldn't if they Dynamax. If they don't Dynamax, we actually might get the knockout, which is nice. But getting a special defense boost is valuable. And then it's like, if you click Trick Room with the Mimikyu, well then my Ferrothorn can actually outspeed you under Trick Room and, like, KO you, right? So, there's a lot of interesting stuff going on here. And then, yeah, the question is with the Mimikyu, well, what is your Mimikyu set, right? Like, normally a combination of Shadow Sneak, Will-O-Wisp, Play Rough, Taunt. That's pretty standard, plus Trick Room, right? I feel like it's got to have at least one of Taunt and Will-O-Wisp, so, you know, Ferrothorn might not be, like, the absolute monster that I want it to be, but that's okay. I wonder if protecting Ferrothorn on turn 1 was worth it. That could have been interesting as well. The other question I have is Max Quake a 2-hit KO onto Dialga? Ideally here, they max Wormwind into my Kyurem slot and then Trick Room, because I can just body press you under Trick Room and KO you. That is the best Protect I think we could have run into. Okay, wow. I'm really surprised. Protect on Mimikyu isn't even that common, to be honest, and I always wanted to Quake here for special defense boosts, and now as long as you're not weakness policy here, that looks like AV to me, I think, but I'm not 100% sure. Either way, though, this is exactly what I'm talking about, right? Where Ferrothorn will get to +1 special defense and +2 defense within one turn. And they go for a Max Quake of their own. Okay, very nice. Into Ferro. Beautiful. Now, I get the target on Ferrothorn there because, like, you would expect Kyurem to maybe protect or switch out in this position. But I know because I've got the special defense boost, I can take a potential attack from my opponent, right? So now I get an Iron Defense up, which is pretty sweet. Okay, I've got leftovers as well. That's also valuable. And this next turn, I can just double up into Dialga, honestly. Let's see. I've got Zacian and Hydreigon in the back. We should assume they have Calyrex Ice Rider in the back, obviously. So here it's pretty safe to just body press Dialga and Max Quake it. So that's what I'm leaning towards. Especially because I think it's AV, but I'm not 100% sure. Like, we didn't see a Life Orb on turn 1. We didn't see a weakness policy, so AV naturally is the item that makes the most sense to me now. Max Quake doesn't do that much there, but that's fine. I don't really need it to. Like, the idea of the Kyurem here was to make Ferrothorn the actual carry of this game, which I think is really interesting. Okay, they go for Steel Spike. That's fine. We'll give them a defense boost. So Steel Spike into Will-O-Wisp here is pretty scary. But if you go for that, then it means that I get to stick around for another turn with Kyurem, right? And get in another attack off. Looks like they're angling for Trick Room, though. Cool. Ooh, Dialga hangs on with what looks like to be 1 HP. Okay. It's a little bit less than desirable, but that's fine. So we've seen Trick Room plus Protect on Mimikyu so far. Those moves make sense to me. I here would prefer to just body press to KO the Dialga. And I don't mind Hailstorming here. Oh, the interesting thing about Hailstorming, though, is I actually start chipping my Ferrothorn. I can't heal back from leftovers for 5 turns. So I'd actually rather Max Quake into Mimikyu here. Yeah. Okay. Not knocking out Dialga there may have actually been a good thing, because it like stalls out a turn of my opponent's Trick Room, denies them a free switch in, and allows Kyurem to get another attack off relatively safely, right? They do have Play Rough. Okay. So it's Play Rough, Trick Room, Protect. No Will-O-Wisp, no Taunt. It might just be Shadow Sneak as the last one. If that's the case, that's really interesting, because that's not the moveset I was actually anticipating. Also, yeah, one play I didn't even actually talk about is how Kyurem ignores Mimikyu's Disguise. So that actually explains the Protect on turn 1, right? Where it's like they were expecting to take the Life Orb Max Hailstorm, and maybe just getting one shot on the Mimikyu slot. Now, I don't have too much incentive to target Mimikyu there, because I don't care if Trick Room goes up. Plus, I'd rather get Special Defense boosts up, right? Like, that was kind of the plan in this game, but yeah, it's kind of interesting to me. So, I feel like Calyrex-'s last attack being the, or Mimikyu's last attack being Shadow Sneak to activate Policy makes the most sense to me here. So, in this position, I don't mind going for another Iron Defense and then stalling out another turn of Trick Room on their end. Because the thing is, basically, what I'm angling for is, okay, well, if Trick Room expires, I'll use my Zacian to sweep you. If Trick Room doesn't expire, I'll use my Ferrothorn to sweep you. Yeah, they're going to activate Policy, but I'm going to be at +4 defense after this turn, and so it's like they just don't have a consistent Ferrothorn answer. It is interesting to just see Protect on Mimikyu overall, though, right? But turn 1, like I said, the incentive to ignore Mimikyu is because it doesn't really threaten me with that much damage, whereas the, yeah, the Glacial Lance. Whereas the Dialga is a lot more threatening in terms of offense. So, like, yeah, you have Policy activated, but how much are you doing to a +4 defense Ferrothorn right now? 156 down to 110, so 46 damage total. Yeah, and after leftovers, it's barely anything. Cool. I don't have that much incentive to conserve Kyurem here, right? I mean, I'm at +3 special defense. Yeah, I don't think it's really that important here. I'm down to actually just body press straight up into Calyrex. And I'd rather give up Kyurem because I don't want anything in the back to take damage. I will say, what's awkward about the Kyurem here is I'm not actually breaking Disguise. Oh, they switch out. Okay. And that's going to be Zapdos. Zapdos is primarily scary because of the fact that it can Heat Wave me. Yeah, Body Press does not KO there, but that's fine. They will be at +3 attack now, so yeah, this is their Ferrothorn answer, right? It is just Zapdos. Now I've got Hydreigon in the back as well as Zacian. It's a pretty solid final 2 Pokemon to have. Okay. The scary thing is the Mimikyu having Play Rough. That's not actually that common on Mimikyu. So now I want to bring in my Assault Vest Hydreigon. And the question here is, do I predict Calyrex to Protect? It's a fairly obvious Protect. They could switch out, right? Go out into Mimikyu. I could double up on a Zapdos here if I want to read into the Protect. It's a little bit risky, but I feel like they kind of have to, honestly. But I think I'd rather still play it safe here. I will just Body Press and then just Dark Pulse into the Zapdos slot. I also have a flinch chance with Dark Pulse. Okay, so they're going to Protect. Yep. But the reason I'm okay with this is because now I have Zacian to come out, so it's a Zacian Hydreigon endgame, which is pretty sweet for me. So very nice damage from Dark Pulse, and yeah, there's Heat Wave. Okay, no surprise there. That's fine. Feral survives? I know we had the special defense boosts, but they were Life Orb Zapdos as well. Wow. Well, I'm really happy because my game plan played out to perfection here. It even played out better than I expected it to. That's wild. Okay. I'm just going to Dark Pulse the Calyrex slot. Do I actually want to contemplate switching out into Zacian here? Probably not. Let's just give up the, yeah. We'll just give up the Ferrothorn right now. Like, AV Hydreigon's obviously really good here. They should switch out into Mimikyu, yeah. But the reason I don't mind them switching out into Mimikyu is because, like, yeah, you now get the KO onto Ferrothorn, but you don't do any damage in a Hydreigon right now. Honestly, Ferrothorn, like, Fainting would have actually been better for me because it would have just given me a free switch into Zacian. So, funnily enough, like, those boosts actually worked slightly against me in that position. But I think we are in good shape now, right? Because, I mean, we've been in good shape throughout the whole game, so it's not like we were in trouble, but Because the thing is, Hydreigon will just KO the Calyrex Ice Rider in the back. I have Broken Disguise now, so Zacian can just come in and Behemoth Blade into Mimikyu. And you can go for Shadow Sneak and Heat Wave maybe onto the... Like, you just don't have a good way to beat... Okay, actually, their one play is Protect Mimikyu and crit Heat Wave onto Zacian. But if they don't crit Heat Wave, we should win the game. And they don't Protect. Nice. So that's game over. Yeah, because I was afraid about Protect. You crit, and then it's a 3v... It would be a 2v1, where then Mimikyu has Play Rough, and Calyrex Ice Rider has Glacial Lance, which is obviously really bad. But yeah, those special defense boosts paid off exactly like I wanted to, and you can see, yeah, the Zacian takes that pretty well. So even with the crit, actually, we may have survived, which is nice. So there's the Dark Pulse from Hydreigon. Hydreigon was very nice for this end game. It was kind of hard to, like, feel comfortable bringing it into this matchup because I'm staring down a Dialga and a Calyrex Ice Rider. But we had actually played the early game well enough to the point where late game Hydreigon was actually a monster. And this is what I love about Ferrothorn. It makes a lot of these Trick Room setups a lot more difficult to execute because Ferrothorn can actually set up on you, which is, I think, really nice. So now we can just go for Behemoth Blade and Dark Pulse, and there's pretty much no counterplay to that. So yeah, that was a really, really interesting game where, like I said, I wanted to play towards this Ferrothorn win condition, and I think when we think of max moves in Series, or not just in Series 12, just in Sword and Shield, I think it's so often seen solely as like a offensive mechanism, but there's actually a lot of interesting defensive stuff you can do, and like using it to boost your non-Dynamax Pokemon, I think is something that we don't see like that frequently as a strategy, but it can work out very well in the right matchups. And since my opponent's team was like not exactly just fully packing with offense, that was kind of the goal. So yeah, really fun first game there. I'm glad to feature a lot of the fun things about this team, including the Kyurem, the Max Quake, the Ferrothorn, and then, yeah, the late game Hydreigon was really sweet. You saw how little damage it was taking from that Zapdos. So Hydreigon, just a very interesting option against some of the special attackers that you're going to run into, and actually can be a very good Dynamax option next to Ferrothorn, especially because it has Max Quake and Max Steel Spike. So yeah, let's keep things going. Next game here, and we're up against Groudon, Charizard, Venu, Yveltal, Incin, and Meowstic. Okay. This feels like a very good Kyurem matchup. Meowstic is the one Pokemon I'm really scared about. Pharaoh's definitely not coming out here, given the Groudon, the Charizard, and the Incineroar. I kind of like Indeedee for Fake Out into Max Hailstorm turn 1. They were so Kyurem weak, so like, basically I think their goal is going to be to stall out my Dynamax without taking too much damage, and my goal should be to just maximize my damage output very early on with this. The interesting thing is, who do I drop here? Because Aleki's really good into Yveltal plus Charizard. I lean a little bit... Yeah, I kind of want to go with Indeedee plus Kyurem because I've got the Fake Out. Crazy enough, like, there is a world in which, like, dropping Zacian to bring both Hydreigon and Aleki actually makes sense. But I think it's still too consistent to give up. And I actually want EV Hydreigon as the 4th here. This does make my matchup into Charizard and Yveltal slightly scarier, but I think Life Orb, Kyurem White, especially with Helping Hand and Fake Out support from Indeedee, you know, both of those add up. So, cool team for my opponent's side, right? Like, Yveltal Groudon is a pretty interesting restricted core here, and the Meowstic is what I'm mainly curious about. See if they lead that. Just Meowstic Yveltal. Ooh, interesting. Okay. Turn 1. What do I want to do? They're faster with Yveltal. Okay. I don't love that. They could snarl me. Ugh. That's kind of annoying here. The play I want to go for is to just Dynamax, Max Hailstorm, and Helping Hand, honestly. Yeah. I could have also gone Fake Out on a Meowstic. But I like Helping Hand here because it covers for their Meowstic being faster than me and clicking Fake Out before I move. Are they not maxing Yveltal? Because if so, and I just, like, I don't care about Snarl if I get a knockout onto you. Also, Meowstic is relatively passive right now. Interesting. They don't max. Or switch. Okay, I'll take that. They just go for Light Screen, but it's probably Light Screen into Snarl, right? Yeah, so Light Screen, Snarl plus AV. It was actually a missed opportunity to Fake Out Yveltal, and, like, that would have been really sweet. So I think with Light Screen and Snarl, and I'm assuming their Assault Vest, Yveltal will survive this, which makes me kind of sad. But that's a nice play by them. Oh, almost a KO, actually. Not bad, not bad. All things considered, I can't be too upset about that. Okay, so now what? They're probably going to try to heal up with, like, an Oblivion Wing, but a Hailstorm should still KO them. Hailstorm, and I don't mind switching out here into Zacian to give me some more pressure going into turn 2. Meowstic doesn't, or Indeedee doesn't really do much for me right now, so, yeah. And then Zacian also can take an Oblivion Wing, and I think Hailstorm should still get the knockout onto Yveltal. Okay. And they just reflect. That's fine. I mean, I expect Meowstic to have Thunder Wave. Yeah, it's just another Snarl. See, the awkward thing, though, is that this early game didn't go out as well as I could have hoped for, right? Clicking Fake Out onto Yveltal would have been a pretty nice play. Because, yeah, I think it's actually relatively unlikely you're going to Dynamax in front of me there. I also could have clicked Fake Out onto Meowstic for one turn. Fake Out, Meowstic, Hailstorm also could work, but yeah, Yveltal being faster than us here is what makes things a little bit tricky. And Yveltal's an interesting one, because, like, sometimes you want really bulky, like, a really bulky spread, but other times, like, the speed is so valuable. Because if we were faster here with Kyurem, it completely changes the dynamic of the matchup, right? Because it means you don't even get that attack off. Okay, so they bring in Charizard. And if you don't get the Snarl off and I just KO you before you get Snarl off, you're in such a bad spot, right? So Indeedee out into Groudon and then Wildfire into Kyurem makes sense to me. Ugh. What's my counterplay to that? Don't really have counterplay to it. I could hope for them to target... You should always target Kyurem, I guess, right? I could Max Guard here. I guess, like, maybe they don't actually go for the play that I'm talking about either, but that's what I would do in their shoes. Okay. So I'm actually going to Max Guard then and Behemoth Blade into the Charizard slot, because I think they max Charizard here. Yep, there's the switch. The reason why I think you have to target Kyurem here is because if you don't, and you let me get a Hailstorm off into the Groudon slot, that is so bad for you, right? So we'll see if this read pays off. They could also just Airstream, actually. Although Airstream would not have KO'd, I don't think. So, yeah. The problem, though, is that it's probably Light Clay with dual screens Meowstic. So that's not great. Like, I have to deal with screens at this point, and Kyurem, which was my best offense going into this matchup, was, that my opponent did a very good job playing around. I think the Pokemon choice was fine here, but, yeah, them being faster just wasn't ideal, and something that I should anticipate. Okay. Like, I don't even know Behemoth Blade is a 3 at KO with Reflect, to be honest, but we'll see. Oh, wow, that's actually a lot better damage than I expected. Nice, and they Airstream. Okay, so they didn't offer Wildfire, but that's also fine. That actually is huge, because of Solar Power, Blade is actually pretty close to a KO there in itself. So if you're my opponent now, you might actually contemplate protecting Charizard. Protect Charizard and Precipice Blades would be a strong play from their end, right? How do I counter that? I could double up onto Groudon. The problem is that they don't protect and they just max Airstream me. That's my other fear right now. I'm not really doing any damage here, so I'm down to switch out into Meowstic. Or sorry, Indeedee. Okay, I'm gonna go for the Protect, reading into Charizard, max guarding, but if they don't, that's obviously not good for me. This is tough. I actually put myself in a position to win here, but I needed to get this turn correctly. So if they max guard Charizard, I actually think we win the game. Let's see. They don't go for it. They actually protected Groudon. Wow. Nice done. Nicely done. Nice done. Nicely done, yeah. Airstream into Indeedee. That's a game-winning play by them. They went for, like, the... It's so obvious for you to Behemoth Blade your Charizard. My Charizard, like, you're not going to do it, and I'm just going to play around it. It's a really risky play for them, but it pays off really heavily, so props to them. I've got Quick Attack on the Zacian, though, so I actually wouldn't count myself out quite yet, especially with AV on Hydreigon as well. The problem is just breaking through screens, right? Like, them getting those early screens up was really valuable, and that was, like, an all-in turn as well. They, like, hard-read my move, so, you know, kudos to them there. Yeah, them getting your speed boost. Now you can just Airstream my Hydreigon and Precipice Blades. Although, you're actually better off... Would you rather Airstream with Wildfire here? Because you get so much value out of Wildfire. Okay, so I'm actually going to Dark Pulse Groudon. Ooh, actually, maybe I just give up Zacian, right? Because, like, we're actually better off having Kyurem in the late game because it has a super effective attack in a Groudon. Yeah. Okay. I'm going to Quick Attack and Dark Pulse then. That was a really nice play by my opponent. Like, that was definitely not what I was anticipating. And, okay, they go for Airstream. So they never got another Wildfire off, which is interesting. And I actually survived thanks to Assault Vest. But they're presumably just clicking Precipice Blades here. I mean, if they missed, that would be really bad for them. Yeah, the other thing is I went for Quick Attack, and thanks to Reflect, they'll actually survive another turn, so they'll probably win off that, right? Yeah, unless Zacian survived there. I could have doubled up on Charizard. That was just a really, really gutsy Groudon Protect, and it was really well done, you know? But the thing is, if I go for the obvious play there, which is to just target the Charizard slot, right, and they just protect the Charizard and Precipice Blades, I also just lose the game there. So, it basically came down to whoever predicted that turn correctly, right? And I don't really mind the prediction that I made in that position. It's also technically not over yet, because the Charizard will faint after this turn, but the question is then, do you have Fake Out on Meowstic in the back? Because I'm just going to Dark Pulse Groudon here and protect. Yeah. So, you know, what I said in the early game basically put out to be true, right? My opponent's goal is to stall out my Dynamax and make sure they don't get wrecked by Kyurem in the early game, and they did a good job avoiding that. Still possible to win since Meowstic... Oh, interesting. Oh, double interesting. Wow, okay. So, big Heat Wave miss there. And they Swords Dance into a Citrus. That probably means you have Rock Slide, though, right? So then you just click Rock Slide. But the thing is, yeah, the late game here is a little scary for my opponent because you can miss your attacks right now, and they already missed the Heat Wave. I mean, they should win this game the majority of the time, but there's still an out, so we'll go for it. How could I have dealt with Meowstic plus the Yveltal lead better on my end? Well, I'll think about that after this game's over. Yep, I'm just going to Dark Pulse, hope for... We need Blizzard to hit Sun and crit, so... And they have Fake Out. Okay, yeah, they didn't need to have it. It's Fake Out on a Rock Slide, right? Yep, that should win the game. Okay, nicely done. The problem in this was that they had a Meowstic, which is faster, and then an Yveltal. And not getting the KO on Yveltal immediately is what really crushed me here. So, I could have led, like, Indeedee plus Zacian, but not having Play Rough on Zacian also makes it tricky. Could lead Hydreigon. Yeah, Indeedee Hydreigon's interesting, where we, like, try to snipe off the... Maybe that's okay. Yeah, it's like, if I'm leading Kyurem, I need to pick up a KO on turn 1, I think, and unfortunately we fell just short of the knockout. But Light Screen plus Snarl was like the obvious play for them to make on turn 1 as well, so I shouldn't be shocked by that. I want Helping Hand, Hailstorm. I could have clicked Fake Out into either slot there, but then I don't get the Helping Hand boost, so it doesn't really change the damage output. So I had to think about that one a little bit. But yeah, nicely done by my opponent. They played around Kyurem, and yeah, they played to the win con. Obviously, the big turn in this game was when I could have gone Behemoth Blade onto the Charizard slot and Groudon protected there. Because if I had done that, I actually probably would have just won the game. But like I said, I thought, yeah, the obvious play for them there is to protect, right? And so I was reading into that. And yeah, trying to play around the max guard there. But they did a good job not going for it. And, you know, it's like, if I do go for the Behemoth Blade, they max guard and Precipice Blades, and I lose Zacian, I also probably just lose the game from that position. So it basically comes down to whoever predicts that turn correctly. And, you know, it feels bad to be on the wrong side of it, but I put myself in a position where I had to make a read, which is both good and bad, because I actually felt pretty Like, I felt like I was not in a very good position after turn 2. So the fact that we were in a position to actually potentially win is huge. But yeah, that prediction just didn't pan out for me. That's why, like, you don't want to be in Pokemon in a position where you have to make the right prediction to win. You'd rather just be able to make the consistent play and, like, have your opponent not have any counterplay to it, right? But yeah, nicely done by my opponent. So let's look for one last one. Alright, final game here, and it's another Yveltal team, but they've got Zacian, Incin, Raichu, Thundurus, Rillaboom. I mean, I'm intrigued by Kyurem again. I just don't know if Indeedee is it. The thing is that Indeedee is not bad. It's also like, are you support Thundurus or Dynamax Thundurus? Because if you're support Thundurus, that actually implies Yveltal is your only real good max option. And I don't love Ferrothorn in this matchup, so then it's, as always, debate between Alecki and Hydreigon here. Now, I have Screech on Alecki. That's one thing I haven't talked about yet. Like, I could go, for example, Alecki plus Zacian and Screech into Behemoth Blade onto anything. Oh, that's actually very interesting. Okay. I'm actually, let's try this out. Like, it's fun to feature all the different modes of this team, right? And even if it doesn't pan out, like, we get to learn. So, like, I think when you're trying out a brand new team, it's good to just, like, try out all the different techs and figure out when you should bring them and when you shouldn't bring it, right? And you can often learn from losses because it's like, oh, if, you know, it didn't work out, then you identify the situations where you shouldn't be bringing it out. But I think we haven't used the Screech tech on Alecki yet, and I think it could be very valuable here. And they go Raichu and Yveltal. Okay, I'm okay with that. The only question is, do you go for a Fake Out like Max Airstream turn 1? That could be a strong play. I could just easily double protect here. Yeah, I also have to worry about Fake Out plus Max Darkness, right? So I think I will just double protect turn 1. Double protect turn 1 into Screech, Behemoth Blade, Yveltal turn 2 is what I'm thinking of right now. They are going to commit the Dynamax, okay. Max Yveltal can be scary, especially if you have Max Flare. Life Orb Max Flare onto Zacian here is kind of scary. But the thing is, if you go for Life Orb plus Flare next turn, well, yeah, the question is, are you AV? That's my other main thought right now. But this time around, like, the problem in the first game was that I didn't force the Yveltal to max, meaning that it could snarl me. This time around, I forced it to max already, which is already good. I could also see them going for, like, Self-Volt Switch and a Weakness Policy. No, they actually just opted for Nuzzle. Okay. And Darkness? Yeah. Cool. So I'm going to go for the Screech play this next turn. The only problem is if you actually have Max Flare. If you have Flare, you could obviously just, like... Because you've dropped my Special Defense here as well. It's not Life Orb, so yeah. We're going to Behemoth Blade into Yveltal. And if we hit this Screech and get the KO, I think it'll be very hard for my opponent to come back from. Although I suppose, like, since my restricted is Kyurem, you just having Zacian alone always puts you in a decent endgame still. But we are going to get Screech off successfully. Nice. Yeah, okay. I didn't even think about the fact that they didn't get a speed boost. I don't even have to worry about Nuzzle. That is so satisfying. I'm so glad that we got to bring this out and made it work. The game's still far from over because, like I mentioned, you inherently don't have a great matchup when you use Kyurem-White into Zacian teams. But the fact that we got rid of my opponent's restricted for relatively low cost is obviously really good. So now what? I probably want to conserve this Alecki. They're going to bring Zacian out. Yeah. Hey, that's the thing, right? Like, Kyurem-White, unfortunately, is just so weak into Zacian. Like, even with this early lead, it's still far from over. However, in this position, what do I want to do? Late game Dynamax Alecki actually works here if I KO. You could just Thunderbolt and Behemoth Blade into Zacian right now, right? That's a possible play. So I don't mind protecting Zacian right now. And Protect into Electro Web is what I'm thinking of. No, but the thing is, you can still Nuzzle me. Ugh, Nuzzle's actually a huge pain for me. I went for Electro, but I don't think that's the right play, because it also gives Raichu the chance to increase its special attack, which I don't love. But the thing is, this will give me a free switch into Indeedee now, right? Which I can click Fake Out with. And dropping Zacian speed is important for the Kyurem endgame as well. Because, like, what I'm angling for now is, okay, I've dropped your Zacian speed, I'll bring in Indeedee, and then I can just Fake Out Raichu and Sacred Sword it. Wow, talk about surprise text here. They've got Charm. And Substitute. Oh, whoa, 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 whoa. Okay. That is not how I expected this to play out. Oof, Sub is pretty scary here. So I can Quick Attack before you get the Charm off, which is valuable. I need to get Kyurem and Indeedee out simultaneously next to each other is the problem. Okay, I'm going to Screech and Quick Attack. I don't want to switch out right now. It's really awkward for me to switch out. That's a huge Protect. The fact that I go for that, I didn't target that slot is amazing for me, I would say. Okay. Great damage from Quick Attack. Not enough for a KO, though, which is a little bit scary, because now if like they could just Charm me again, right? If you don't go for another Charm, though, I can just Quick Attack, and that's huge. This Raichu set is crazy. Charm and Eerie Impulse and Nuzzle. Wow, wow, wow. But the thing is now, your Raichu is just going to faint to a Quick Attack, right? So that has to switch out. So what would you switch into? Rillaboom, Incineroar, Thundurus. The other interesting thing here is because I know you just protected Zacian, I can just T-Bolt and Behemoth Blade that slot, actually. I'm not opposed to that, actually. Like, you have to switch Raichu out here, right? Yep. Okay, nice. That's a little bit risky, obviously, going for T-Bolt there, but I was just like, I just don't see them not switching out. Instant is annoying because it gets an Intimidate, and I have to play around full para right now. And I guess there's a chance the Zacian actually can take the T-Bolt. But here's the thing, I just switched out your Nuzzler, right? And since you can't Nuzzle anymore, Kyurem can just Max Quake because I've gotten that speed drop onto the Zacian. That's not a KO, or it doesn't break the sub, wow. Interesting, okay. Yeah, there's Blade onto the Regieleki slot. Okay, works for me, though. Because now I get a Kyurem in for free, and that's a really big deal. So with Kyurem, I can just Dynamax and then just Quake. But not breaking the sub there is definitely a little bit unfortunate. Because if we break the sub there and I knock out the Zacian, I should just win the game, right? Although with the Intimidate, I'm not even sure if Behemoth Blade would have finished it off. But yeah, this Eerie Impulse and Charm and Nuzzle Raichu is fascinating to me. So, I could also bring in Indeedee. I actually prefer that first, I think. You know what's so crazy here? There is actually a world in which we Dynamax the Indeedee to Max Strike. Sub does cause me a lot of issues here, but here I think I'm content to just Behemoth Blade into Zacian and then just Fake Out into the Incineroar. So the reason I didn't bring Kyurem out is because I was nervous about, like, yes, Kyurem could just Quake into the Zacian slot, but you could protect Zacian and then Parting Shot onto Kyurem, bring out Raichu, then Nuzzle Behemoth Blade, double up into that slot. So this endgame is still so tricky, honestly. Yeah. Fake Out from Indeedee is kind of hard to read into. Okay, they switch, which I'm okay with. It does get rid of their speed drop, but that's honestly fine for me because I have this Fake Out right now. So we're going to get Fake Out off. Good. That's going to prevent Instant from attacking and no full para, which is fantastic for us here. So let's see if Behemoth Blade can KO. Even if not, I can obviously just Quick Attack, which is pretty valuable. And it gets the KO. Okay, sweet. So now we go up in Pokemon. My opponent's still got Zacian in the back. I haven't Dynamax yet, which is so funny. And Instant flinches, so we're also faster than the Incineroar, which I would argue is a very big deal here. Zacian comes out now. With Zacian out, like, your play is to probably protect Zacian. We've been pretty lucky, by the way, not getting full parried at any point, but I was gonna say, your play is to protect the Zacian here, And basically, oh my gosh, my drift is going crazy right now. Protect Zacian and Flare Blitz, maybe? I don't want them to get a sub up, though, for free. So I'm down to just Behemoth Blade into Zacian, if my controller lets me do it. And, follow me here. Okay. Wow, yeah, this drift just started coming out of nowhere. Okay, Zacian doesn't protect, so that in itself is huge. I would guess they go for a sub. Yep. Okay. Nice, no full para. I think the lack of a full para here should... Well, I wouldn't say secure the victory for us, but it should put us in a pretty sweet spot. Because the thing is, now I can protect Indeedee, right? Bring in Kyurem, and then I can max Strike to drop my opponent's speed. Yeah, they go for Lariat. Okay, that makes sense. See if Lariat one-shots us here. Okay, just not good. This is crazy, but I'm actually thinking about maxing here with the Indeedee. Just to get a speed drop on both of these Pokemon. But I think it is crazy because then I would lose to them just Behemoth Blading Indeedee, right? But the thing is, I think Zacian protects in this position. Okay, down to Quick Attack here just to make sure they can't sub. I'm gonna go for it. No, this was a bad play. It was like a fun play, but it doesn't work if I go for Quick Attack here. Yeah. But the thing is, if I were my opponent's shoes, I would actually protect the Zacian, like, frequently. So this is me, like, making a hard read, but it's not the example of a good consistent play. I just really wanted a max Indeedee for a max strike play. They do protect, though. Nice. That should win us the game, because now Kyurem outspeeds. But this is one in which I wouldn't recommend it, because it's like actually possible to throw the game by going for this. Because if they had just Behemoth Bladed Indeedee, then I literally don't have a Dynamax. And like I said, it works if I don't Quick Attack with Zacian. If I Behemoth Blade instead, then it's like even if you KO my Indeedee, the Behemoth Blade will KO your Zacian. This is one of those like kind of gut feeling checks where it's like I think you are just gonna, you know, go for the protect there. But now you can't sub. Got a speed drop. I'm just gonna Behemoth Blade you. And max guard. It's funny where not like Indeedee's surviving actually works against me as well. But like I said, I just wanted a speed drop to make sure let the Kyurem outspeeds in the end game. I don't even care if I get full parried here. If you Flare Blitz that slot, because then it's a free switch in. Okay, cool. Yeah, that works. Does that KO me though? Oh, these survivals are actually really awkward. Okay. That's annoying. I'm just gonna Sacred Sword the Incin here. And strike into... Zacian should try to KO my Zacian, then you should just Darkest Lariat Indeedee, right? That's the correct line of action here. I don't think Quick Attack and Strike KOs the Zacian, but I'm down to go for it. Yeah, like, this was just awkward, because, like, both of my Pokemon ended up surviving. Like, the amount of bulk that we had actually worked against me, which is amusing. But Kyurem should win 2v1, I think, because of Earth Power in itself, and we've got the speed drop on both, so, yeah. I think it would have been more consistent just Dynamax Kyurem in the end game, but the thing is, I was like, I have the speed drop, and I can take it immediately, and that's actually very, very tempting in this position. Okay. Yep, there's Blade. But like I said, I don't even mind a double knockout right now, although now it's like I'm sweating a little bit harder than I maybe needed to. They actually target the Indeedee slot, okay. I don't know if I actually agree with that, I think... Because I guess like they haven't seen any other attacks from Indeedee, so you just want to cover for like a max Flare or a max Psychic, which would make some sense. Yeah. There's Flare Blitz now. I guess the question is, is Flare Blitz a 2-hit KO from Incineroar to me? I wouldn't expect it to be. But if it were, that would actually be kind of awkward, because then it's like you could just Flare Blitz, like, you know, protect the Zacian here. I'm not willing to read into Zacian's Protect, though, and Zacian can't sub right now, so it's always safe to just Protect to scout out for a move on their end. Because we know Zacian's not going to have, like, Swords Dance at this point. Not that a Swords Dance actually makes a difference. So Protect just to scout out a Protect on their end, and if they Protect Zacian here, even a Flare Blitz crit won't KO Kyurem. Yeah, beautiful. So, very amusing game and episode in general here, but I had a lot of fun, and we got to show off, like, tons of different ways to play with this team, which I always think is good as well. So, it's not over, I guess, because, like, maybe Instant... You could double Protect into Instant Crit. Both of those are actually still on the board, and they actually do go for the double. This is one of those scenarios where it's interesting, like, oh, do I maybe read into the double Protect? But I think the answer is no, because, like, the Kyurem here has bulk, right? And so, like, Instant Flare Blitz... Like I said, I'm not even sure it's a 2-hit KO. Let's see. But I did have to sweat this endgame a little bit, and partially it's because I made this decision to Dynamax Indeedee. Okay, Flare Blitz actually was a 2-hit KO, so if they got that double off, they probably win. Which is really scary. Then it's like, all of this just to potentially lose to a double Protect means it's not worth it, right? And so, yeah, if I were to replay this, I think Dynamaxing Kyurem is just the smarter play, but sometimes it's fun to try out some new options, and... what made this game awkward was my opponent, like, I was expecting him to Flare Blitz KO Zacian, right? And we got full paired. If we don't get full paired there, I think we would have won. But like I said, we were lucky enough to make it through so many turns without getting paralyzed. So that's not something I can really complain about. So the main thing to talk about is, yeah, Dynamax Indeedee. And then, like, I was expecting Flare Blitz to one-shot Zacian. That would give me the free switch into Kyurem as you just protected your Zacian. So then I can just Earth Power that slot, right? But, yeah. It goes to show how sometimes you can be flexible with your Dynamaxes. I'm trying to think what the most, like, what the guaranteed win with Dynamaxing Kyurem in the late game was. So the reason, like, the one thing that was scary is that maxing Kyurem, like, I still just get wrecked by a Behemoth Blade, and I was like, I want to make sure I outspeed both of my opponent's Pokemon in the end game. So, yeah. Either way, though, it was a really fun set of games, and I think this team has a lot of interesting techs, and I'm glad we could feature the Screech stuff as well. So, yeah. Thank you so much, as always, for watching. Leave a like if you enjoy. Don't forget to answer the question of the day, and I'll see you all next time. All right. Peace.